Well, hello, everybody. This is Tom. We have the greatest discovery in the history of human health, in my opinion. Why? Because scientists are saying just exactly that. And it won a Nobel Prize just 2 years ago, in 2009, as the greatest discovery in the area of medicine. And what it has to do is with their telomeres. And now a lot of you on the call that really don't understand a lot about this. We all know what chromosomes are and DNA that's in our body. And so researchers, for a long time, they weren't quite sure what telomeres were. They knew they were the ends, the tip on a chromosome. And so as they were examining them, they found that as a cell became old, it was losing units, or literally they were shortening up. So the shorter they got, the slower the cells were in duplication, where the stem cells, they're kind of like a queen bee, if you can think of it that way. And we have stem cells in our body, and those are the cells that keep putting out new cells all of the time to replenish cells in all of the tissues within our body. They're all regulated by these telomeres, and they didn't completely understand it until just a few years ago. And when they did, they saw the telomere units were becoming shorter and shorter and less of them, until the point where the 100 trillion cells that are in our bodies no longer could be refreshed by the limited number of stem cells that were producing new cells. You lose in a year's time, you've pretty well turned over most of the cells in your body. And so they have to be refreshed, and that's the purpose of stem cells. Well, you get to a certain point where you don't have enough stem cells left, and your tissues break down, and you're right there to the point of dying. So these researchers, where they got their Nobel Prize, is they looked at what reactions were going on with the cell within the chromosomes, and they found out that a compound, an enzyme called Telomerase, was rebuilding these units. And so when they started adding Telomerase to the cells, then the units would start to increase on the tips of the chromosomes. So the number of units which were deteriorating then would slow down, stop, and then they start to build back. So they went into a series of animal studies to find out, it appears to be in all mammals, that this structure is there. And then they found out in many types of animals besides mammals, and even in plants, telomeres have a tremendous amount to do with the cells and their duplication rate. The older you were, the less telomere units you had. So they came to the idea, is it possible that if you could rebuild the telomere units, if telomerase could do that, if the slowing down of telomerase indeed would let the cells deteriorate and degenerate, would the speeding up of telomerase in the cells start to rebuild those units? What is the purpose of it? And they found out that was the purpose of this enzyme, telomerase, to rebuild or maintain the units on the chromosomes. Now that's a brief overview, but a stem cell has a limited life. In other words, it will duplicate about 60 different times, and then after that, there aren't enough telomere units left for it to keep on duplicating, and it stops. And when it stops, of course, that's less cells being produced for the body to replenish the ones that are dying, millions dying every day, and you refresh those. It takes a lot of stem cells producing a lot of new cells. So they went in and did some animal studies, and as they would start to inject telomerase into animals whose telomeres were aged, or they could even alter their telomeres, degrade them, they found that animals that were very old, and there's a study that's with a couple of mice the same age. The one mouse is very old, and it's lost about 25% of its brain size. Its coat is gray, and hair is thin, and it's old and lethargic. And the other mouse was the same way it was, at the same point. And they started putting telomerase, started putting it in one of them. And in the mouse they put it in, it became a young mouse again. Its hair all thickened up, the gray went away, the brain size returned to its full size, and it had the vitality and energy in that of a young mouse. And they looked at the organs and the tissues and all of the structures, and they were rebuilding themselves because these telomere units were there so the cells could duplicate, and literally they had reversed aging in mice. Now remember, this is only a 2-year-old study that received the Nobel Prize, so they haven't had long enough studies to do it in humans, but already they're finding tremendous effects that doctors are doing with patients, and they're on the way to attempting to make a prescription drug if they can find a synthetic molecule to perhaps duplicate one that could activate telomerase, or On the other hand, they can produce telomerase, and you can go to a doctor right now and you can have a series of telomerase injections into your body. I don't know how many it takes, but with that, they can start to rebuild these telomere units. Unfortunately, it costs about $2,000 a month for that. It's a little pricey for most people. Then you have to pay your doctor, and I think the fees for doctors set up is like $500 for the initial session that you go through, and then there's laboratory fees, and those laboratory fees, they run from about $4,000 to $8,000 for a year. So that's terribly expensive, and it would preclude most people from being able to use it. So a firm started looking at this, and they thought, a big firm out of California, and they're into genetic research, and Geron is the name of the company, and they started looking at ways to see if they could activate the telomerase in the body by a dietary supplement. And so as they went through numbers that had the potential of doing that, they found one, an extract that occurred naturally in a Chinese herb called astragalus. But it was in such minute forms that they had to extract it from a very large volume of material to get enough to work with. But as they did, and they started to concentrate these enzymes from astragalus, they're called astragalosides. These astragalosides, as they concentrated them, and they came to an equation of where it took so much to rebuild so many units, and they figured it out for the different types of or ranges of age classes. And as they did, then they started providing this to people, and they had a profound effect with it. And it's very dose dependent, depending on the age groups. Between 30 and 40, there's a very minimal age, and then after that, for about every 10 years, older that you are, you have to double up and then add it that much more again, and then another 10 years, that much more again. But the cost is a heck of a lot less. So if you're between 30 and 40, you can get this product from a doctor, and it's called TA65. That's the name of the product. The ingredient is a nutritional supplement, if you want to call it nutritional. It's certainly a complementary, powerful, natural medicine. They're selling it for $219 for a month's supply. So if you're between 30 and 40, that's what it costs you to maintain your telomeres or to support them. If you're 40 to 50, then it's going to double up. It's going to run approximately $400, a little bit of a discount there. And then between 50 and 60, it's about $600. And then 60 and 70, it's not quite $800 for it. And that's about the range that it goes. So it progressively gets more and more. So if you compare it to telomerase injections from doctors, it's a lot less expensive. And in addition to that, you're certainly not giving injections all of the time. And the battery of tests and things that you go through with a doctor, essentially the same with this. So you can get the testing, you can see your telomeres start to increase. Well, the science was so good that Geron has come out and they patented it. And they patented it for drug use. And we got a copy of the patent. And I actually knew about astragalosides for a long time because I used them in my previous company in some formulations that I did, but I didn't realize that this concentration, of course, nobody did at that time, it's talking about 15 years ago, could have such a profound effect on supporting human health. And here's the key. We need to talk about supporting human health. So what they believe in theory they can do is many, as they said in their statements, was that many diseases that occur are because of a degeneration in the telomere units that are in each chromosome. And the way they talked about it, and I have a good analogy with it, and we have a video that we put out with William Shatner introducing it, and then they go through it with Dr. Park more thoroughly, and he goes through it, and he talks about, and he shows telomeres on chromosomes, and it shows that in an older person. Then he shows them when he starts it on their product, TA65, and then you see over a period of time that the units are just increasing dramatically in it. And then he has some people that are on there talking about it. And he's got a guy that's really older, and he comes on and he's talking about, well, I don't wear glasses anymore. I've gotten rid of my glasses, and because my eyesight's just come back the way it was when I was younger. Hey, Dr. Park, and he shows, yeah, and this is why his eyes are coming back. And he says, see, this is building up. So actually the lining, the cornea on the eyes is actually starting to get thicker and softer and more pliable. and some of the factors that happen that are degenerating in the eye, now they're just going the other way, and he's doing that off all of these tests. He has it charted. Very impressive. And he makes a very good point. He says, as the telomeres units are rebuilt within this, then all of these cells start to refurbish and replenish the cells in the body. And one thing that you see will happen is the changes for most people are beginning to occur at about 5 to 6 months, to where they're occurring, but you're not seeing any visible effect in them until about 5 or 6 months for most people, of course, depending on age. Some of the older people might see it faster, and of course they're taking heavier doses of that. And as I said, it's dose dependent. Now, with the product the doctors are selling on astragalosides, their TA65, they make all kinds of claims, which in my opinion are drug claims, and it's not approved as a drug, but the patent has it approved as a drug for many different functions in the human body. But in reality, I don't think they can legally, well, they're making them, maybe they can legally make them, but without getting the drug approval, it's too new. The way that they're doing, they're extraordinary claims, more bold than I would care to make, because I would sooner rule on the safe side. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and so as I looked at this science and the remarkable things that it was doing, and the relationships that they were talking about on the studies with the astragalosides was, and not just from them, but from others, where they're saying this should return cognitive functions to that of a younger person. In other words, an older person, when you get up close to 80, you've lost 20-25% of your brain volume, I think, on an average. Alzheimer's and dementia is a very good indication of that happening, but it happens pretty well with everyone. And what they're saying in their animal studies and what they think will happen with adults, and they're seeing some of that happen with adults right now, is the brain just starts to fill back in. And as it filling back in and it is refurbishing itself with vital new cells that are replacing the old dead ones that have died and gone away, you're supporting a healthy brain. And as that happens, you start suddenly thinking clearer. And they're believing the thought processes. An adult can come down from an aged person, might think like they're 20 to 30 years old again. And they have good indication of that happening. So it's really quite remarkable. And then they're looking at many of the degenerative diseases that occur as the body deteriorates with age, and they're saying, well, those things may not happen with this, because if the body's healthy, they don't occur. So you're not talking about disease prevention with this thing. You're talking about just keeping a healthy body, so the degenerative things that happen to your body just don't occur. Now, you could go farther and you could be more bold, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to keep this thing safe so that we can sell this product. We don't have the Federal Trade Commission, the FDA, and I know we got a lot of people on from other countries that are here, even from Japan, that are listening. And so we want to be in compliance, because this is going to be a global product for us. So as we looked upon what it was doing with all of these effects, they said, well, we're going to start testing on people with fibromyalgia and MS and many things like this that are dementia, a big one. But the other thing they're saying is it is so supportive to all types of tissues. And they said it should support your facial features. You know, as you get older, you start to not just develop thinner skin and wrinkles and blotchy skin and all those things, aged skin, but underneath it, the muscle structures and everything lose tone and viability like you had when you were young. And they said this should support the body so that those physical features that you have, it's not going to change your bone, of course, with that, but muscle and tissues and things like that, you should have a sense, you should have a vitality in them, and they can take this and they can start to rebuild themselves to as they were and maintain themselves like when you were younger. And you could see, this is a theory, not right now with some of this, we think it certainly showed it in animals, and you'll have to extrapolate that. And because of DSHEA, which is a Dietary Supplemental Health Education Act, we can reference some of those to show you where it's happening. And with animals, they looked old, they acted old when their telomeres units were about gone, and when they put telomerase in them, then the telomere units, you could see them rebuild, and then they acted young. They looked young, You know what? I believe they were young. The other thing that's very good is with the Food and Drug Administration, they say aging is not a disease. So when somebody dies, if they're 70 or 80 years old and they die in that range, they never say they died of old age. They might say they died of something that was an incident to age, but essentially it's degeneration due to a number of different factors that have degenerated in your body. But suppose your body had never degenerated away, or suppose your body was able to restore itself, just like you can build a muscle through exercise, or that you can build stronger bones through the right type of mineral complexes and things like that. Suppose the astragalosides that come from astragalus, the body will take them in and it will use it just like they use calcium to build bones or omega-3 to improve the eyes. It will use it for telomere support, and the telomeres will start to revitalize themselves and restore themselves in strength and number as they were when you were younger. And what do you think is going to happen to your body? Well, I think we already know what is happening. It's happening. Their doctors are already seeing it with TA65 and some of these others. Now, our big issue is we can't make the claims that they can. We don't want to make those claims, and I'm not sure whether they can or they can't legally, but they're making them. But we need to talk about support. But the things they're talking about is their support talking about gray hair going away. They're talking about vision coming back and hearing improving and skin becoming young-looking and wrinkles just seeming to disappear, and health and vitality and muscles and organs and all of this coming back, and energy levels and all of those things that you had when you were young. Guess what, folks? It's reversing aging. And since aging is not a disease, here we have a product that can support the body to reverse aging, support telomeres so that it can support the body in reversing aging. Tell me if you do not think that that is not the single greatest discovery in the history of human health. I think it is. I mean, certainly you can take anti-aging supplements and you can take antioxidants, and they fight some of these things that are causing major things that are causing us to age, and perhaps we can slow down the aging process. And I think the FDA says you can say that with these kind of things. Well, how about if we support it in areas to where the body can take it and reverse aging? I mean, what is that? I mean, that is magic. That is the fountain of youth. Of course, people won't live forever, but that is really the fountain of youth. Now, you got to have a few other things to go with it, but here is doing something that has never been done before in the history of the world. Maybe the ancient Chinese knew how to do it. I don't know, because they had some people that lived and their ages were recorded up to around 230, 240 years old. So what did they do? How did they go past those 60 replications that the cells are limited to? Was it that Telomerase was doing that? Well, a lot of this research actually came out of cancer research. Cancer researchers were looking at cancer, and I don't know if a lot of you aren't aware that a cancer cell never dies. It never dies until it kills you. It just grows and grows and grows, and it duplicates at a very fast rate. And so as they're looking at cancers, they're discovering what was happening here. They discovered the keys to cancer cells duplicating and never running out of telomeres was that when that DNA breaks that causes them to lose control of their duplication is they also start reproducing at an abnormally fast rate, and instead of the telomere units getting used up as the body or the cells are duplicating at such a fast rate, they just keep getting rebuilt because the cells kick on telomerase. It's one of the fatal flaws within cancer. But telomerase does not cause cancer. It just carries it on, so it becomes literally immortal until it kills you. And the rest of the cells in your body are low telomerase. So researchers looked at this and they said, well, now, so if we inject telomerase into an animal or into a human and we increase the telomerase rate, what will it do to a cancer cell? And what they found out is nothing. Because it already has enough telomerase in it that it makes no effect. It's like putting the gas pedal down in your car and you're going as fast as you can go. If you push it through the floorboard, you won't go any faster. You're just maximum speed, and that's the way cancer cells are responding. But what they did is they noticed the other cells that are so old and so decrepit, and your own natural immune system and cancer-fighting systems that your body naturally has and that are so good when you're young, now they start loading up on telomerase, and up they come to meet the challenge. And so health and vitality and all of that just rebounds, and so you're going to become really healthy. Does that mean it's a cure for cancer? No, it doesn't mean it's a cure for cancer, but what it means is you've got a fighting chance because your system that's deteriorated so much now improves so much, and wow, that is a marvelous thing to have happen. And then they started analyzing people and looking at it. And as they looked at people that were over 100 years old, they found out that there's a virus that older people get, and it's called cytomegalovirus. So the cytomegalovirus, it is found in most adults that as you get older, and I don't know if you've been around a person, when they start getting really old, a lot of times people will have a particular odor, and they believe it's from the CMV, the cytomegalovirus, and it is breaking down the system and the immune system so badly that they can't cope. But they found one thing. Every person over 100 did not have it, and every person over 100 had an abnormally high level of telomerase. So they found as the telomerase come up in aged people, usually because of the CMV, that it is one of the most damaging things to the immune system that makes people so vulnerable to a host of different diseases. But if the telomerase is up, it's not there. Or if it is, it's in such a small amount, it doesn't count. And so, as they said, this is the answer here to many of the health problems that we have. If our telomerase is up, then this is something that's not going to be able to occur. And then some scientists come on and say, you know what? Telomerase is what's making some of these trees live 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 years old because they're producing so much of it. And, I mean, think of all of that. That is just such a significant thing. And so as they started looking at all of the things that telomerase would do, then they started with extensive tests on animals and people, and they started looking at how many units do you have and what is the threshold that is involved within telomere units. And this is what they came to the conclusion. At conception, the egg and the sperm, when that's provided from mom and dad, the parents, you have about 15,000 telomere units. So from a single cell, that starts to divide like crazy for 9 months until a baby's born. And during that period of time, 5,000 of those 15,000 telomere units are gone. They're just flat out gone. And so the baby's born, it's got 10,000 units. And so now they that, as they're looking through the different ages, that when the body gets down to about 5,000 telomere units on the chromosome, then it no longer has enough units to be able to keep up with the duplication rate of new cells necessary to replenish the old cells that are dying, and you're right there ready to die. And along the way, you get serious age-related decline in your body. You see your muscles start to waste away. You see your hair start to gray, start to get thinner. Skin becomes worse. Fingernail growth slows down. You have more dry mouth. All of the things within you, brain is shrinking. Organs are shrinking. You're not so regenerative, so healthy. Even your face, the muscles start slipping, contours start changing, vision goes away, hearing gets very bad. All of those things are happening, and many, many more. Energy, vitality, sex drive, all of those things are gone. Now, I've been using this product now for about a year, just starting, and I started on a weaker version. There's 2 types of ingredients that can support telomeres really quite effectively. One of them about 15 years ago, and I brought it out because it was from India. It came from Bacapa, and these bacasides actually were very powerful for the brain, especially in supporting people who were becoming very aged and dementia and things like that were occurring, poor memory, all of that, and you could just see dramatic changes coming within the people. But at that time, 15 or 20 years ago, science wasn't advanced enough to know all the things that we're doing, except it came out of Ayurvedic medicine out of India, and they said it was very helpful for maintaining a young, youthful brain. Well, now, guess what? It's a lot more than that. And so then out of China, they have the traditional Chinese medicine, and they were using astragalus for things somewhat similar to that. So you had two technologies that were coming along. So here, Genron comes in, and they do the research on this, and they're saying, boy, astragalosides are really the answer, but they're expensive. They're about, it takes about 6,000 pounds to extract about 2 pounds of the astragalosides, the extract. So 3 tons to get 2 pounds, if you can manage. So it's a lot of raw material, and that leaves us into a problem we're going to talk about fairly shortly. That is supply. So with it, they're selling it through the doctors and doing extremely well, as you can imagine. But it's $219 for, if you're in the smaller group, then $400, then $600, then $800. So as I took a look at this, and I put a great amount of research into the science that's there, they cannot patent a natural ingredient. And as a consequence, we're not violating their patent. And their patent is for drug claims, all of them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring it out, and we're going to say our product, which we're going to call TSX, which is Telomere Support Extreme, because the concentrations are so extremely high in this that we'll have telomere support far beyond. So we took a look at the bacicides, because there's science on that, and the same company in Reno had done that, and so they took the bacicides and they went out and licensed it to another company who has it produced by another company for them, and then they sell it to distributors and to retailers. And so they have a bacicides product, and it's a good one. Say not great, but a good. And they're taking that licensed science that they have. And then the director that had developed some of that was licensed and doing the work for it, also approached me, and they said, well, we have a better science than what that is that we can offer you, and would like to contract with you to provide this science. Well, a little bit of research, and I'd already been looking at it, and I already knew it was astragalosides. So I went and I got the astragaloside. I got all of the research, and I went back to China, because I went to China in 1988. I went to companies that are doing this type of thing, and wham, you know what we found? We got the company that is doing the astragalosides extract that is used in this TA65. At least we believe that's the company. They said they were, and we've dealt with them for a long time. And we said, can we buy this astragaloside concentrate? And they said, yes, expensive, but you can buy it. We had a good record, and they let us take it. So we've got it. We've got it here now in-house. So then we looked at the bacicide science, and it takes a lot more of bacicides to support telomeres. It's not nearly as hot a product as the other, but it does work. And so I don't know, the science is so new, which is the best one? How about using both of them? How about using both of them in higher concentrations with it? And because I can buy direct, and because we manufacture, we own the candy factory. So since we can manufacture, what I've done is I have combined both sciences into one. And the astragalosides is the A product, and the bacicides is the B product as far as I'm concerned. But when you put A and B together, I think you get A+, especially when you use higher doses. And I have a patented delivery system that we're going to put into it to increase higher levels that gets absorbed in the blood system, I believe. That's what we're going to attempt to do with this. And so what I have is, if you look at the TA65, the astragaloside product that's out there, that's so proven and so dynamic and doing so much, we're going to have about 30% more, actually over 30%. We'll test it once we get it made, but in the amounts that we're using in it, we're about 32% more. And so you'll be a third more power in it with that. And then we looked at the bacicides product, and we think we're going to be somewhere in the range of, very conservatively, at least 3 times. And I believe probably would be 5 or 6 times greater concentration, the bacicides that's in the other product. You put them both together, what do you have? You have immense power. You have extreme support for the telomeres. So now we have both products coming out. We have an antioxidant support, and we have some other support ingredients. Telomere is important, and you'll see it. Telomere is one major ingredient that's in it, and we have antioxidants. But the one thing we do have is SpectraMax already, which is absolutely mega power for antioxidants and gives you such a strong shield. I don't think any antioxidants could get through. But we put some in the formulation, too, for people that don't use SpectraMax. But SpectraMax you should have, because it's got that and all the essential minerals, and nutrients that are essential for biological activity and have to support it. So we have those. So that combination that we're putting together has immense power within it. And so because we buy direct, because we manufacture, I'm able to bring this product out at a tremendous price. And yes, unlike the bacticide products being sold by another company, it's an okay product. I don't think you're going to go wrong, but you're not going to go as right or nearly have the dynamic results, I believe, that we're going to have with the product that we're bringing out, because we have so much more of it in ours. And then we have so much, they don't carry the astragalosides, and we have a mega dose of that in comparison to the ones that the doctors are selling. So we're ready to launch this son of a gun. Yes, we're going to do it the right way. This company selling bacticides, they just say take 4 of these pills, a day, and you got 30-day supply, you got 120 pills, and you get what you need. But I looked at the person that developed it, the person that came to me with this other science, and I found out on some sites where he's taking a lot more of it. He says he's taking a lot more of it. Well, if this is the researcher that did it, why is he taking more? Obviously, because it's just like what TA65 are saying in their astragalosides, it's dose dependent. But the company selling it through network marketing isn't addressing that. So if you're 80 and you're taking the dose that a 30-year-old is taking, or if you're 70 or 60, you're probably not getting enough, in my opinion. So here we've got a mega formulation that we're bringing out with extraordinary power and effectiveness. And guess what, folks? We're going to let you order it here the 1st of February, and we're going to release it on February 15th. So here's the program. We're going to bring this out, but we have limited supplies, because guess what? It grows in the northern climes of at least the astragalosides, the astragalus of China. That growing season is over, and what's been produced is produced. We're buying up everything. We bought up everything we could for this first batch, and now we found another batch so that we think we can support about 5,000 people for a year that's on it. Now, how much more we can find, how much more can we buy some, can we send it back, can we get it from other sources and send in, have it extract and come back? Yeah, probably, maybe. But when the other season comes, we're telling them, grow it, but it comes from a root, and it takes 2 years for the root to develop. And then they take cuttings off the root, so holy cow, we got to do something here. So what we're going to do is we're going to guarantee 5,000 people for a year, and it's going to have a $150 retail price. And this is super concentration. And then we're going to put the astragalosides in. 32% more is what we're putting in the formulation than what they have. So this thing, you'll take one capsule, and that will be enough to do. It'll greatly exceed all of these others together. So we got to put some rules in place, and here's what we're going to do. Some people are going to want to buy one. That's $125 for a distributor. Second, if you want to buy 3 or more, it's $99.95. So you could buy 3, 4, 5, whatever you wanted. If you want to buy a year's supply, you can buy 11 months at $99.95, and the 12th month is free. So you buy 12 and you pay for the price of 11. And there are people right now, I can tell you, lots of them that are looking at wanting to buy the year because they want to ensure the fact that they can have enough to get by for this year. Now, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure these 5,000 people can do it. But we have some problems with it. Number one, we got Japan, and Japan is absolutely on fire. In Japan, this sells for about $800 for a month's supply of just the astragalosides in the lesser concentration in Japan. So, and it's selling over there like crazy. And now here we're going to come in with 32% more in it, and then all of the bacticides that the other one doesn't even begin to have, and we're going to sell it distributor price $125. You can imagine what's happening in Japan right now. As I had a number of distributors here from North America asking me about it, I said, you know what we're going to do? The 1st of February here in America is actually the 2nd in Japan. See, our 31st of this month before we open it up here in North America is Japan's 1st. So they'll have a full day ahead of us, and it might be gone. So what I've decided to do is we're going to open it up the 31st for everybody. That would it's going to be the 1st of Japan, 31st here in the United States. And then the qualifications are going to be you must be gold or a platinum on auto purchase. So got to be a distributor. You don't have to be a master distributor, but you must have at least 150 gold automatic purchase, AP, or 200 platinum AP. Those are the people that have got skin in the game that are really building this business, and they're the ones we want to have it from the beginning. Every distributorship is going to be checked, and if you don't have a gold or platinum AP in place, then your order isn't going to be honored. It's got to be for the people that are really committed to do it. So let me say this to you in conclusion. This is the single greatest discovery in the history of health. This is the kind of product, when you've seen companies come along, and you've seen companies come on with acai and with mangosteen and with noni, and they become a billion-dollar company on products that are mediocre. Come on. Here is one that won the Nobel Prize in 2008. Here is one that's showing right now that it's reversing aging, and click in some eternity with it. That could be part of your auto purchase. Get the Triangle of Life, and you'll have the support you need for revitalizing, for reversing aging. Nobody's got what we have. Nobody's got the price that we have. In human health, there's never been one like it. We got some competitor, but nowhere near what we are on price and on power. There is no company, I think you can see now, there is no company like SISEL in the world. This is the hottest product ever been created for network marketing, and we got it, and we're here. Let's take this and run wildly with it.